Hi everyone, how are you today? Thank you for joining us on Come Alive once again. And it is an interesting week where we're looking at the book of Esther and we're calling this Girl Esther. I pray that you're actually finding time to read through the story. If you haven't read it, it is actually a very interesting one. If you have read it, go back and read it again. I encourage you to do so. Something beautiful about the Word of God is that every time you read it, you actually get something new that He is revealing to you at the time. And so today, I just want us to continue from where we left yesterday. And I was just asking, is it possible that with all the favor that we saw Esther had in the eyes of the king, is it possible that God had a reason bigger than her just being the queen and having all this wealth at her disposal? And the answer is yes. As you read the book of Esther, somewhere as you continue around chapter 5, you see Esther having a discussion with the king, and it seems to be very important. But before we actually get to the discussion, I want to take you back to where it started. So at the time, Esther found out that her people had enemies, and it was at this time that she realizes she is required to step up and save her people. But before her, she has to make a very courageous decision to go before the king, before the king not having summoned her. And so she calls a time of prayer and fasting, and they take time to fast, after which she goes before the king, and again, God's favor is just ahead of her, and she's able to get the attention of the king, and she invites the king to a banquet, and the king comes and he asks the king if he could allow one of his men, very close men, who was Haman, to join them for the banquet. And the reason why she needed this is because she needed the king to reverse a decree that had been made, or not really to reverse it because the word of the king was low and so it could not be reversed, but to give a decree that her people could actually fight for themselves, despite the fact that Haman had already given instruction that they were to be destroyed. Now, was there a purpose greater than Esther just being the queen and looking pretty and being in the palace? Yes. Mordecai puts it this way: probably God has put you there for such a time as this. And the truth is, even with the favor that you get to enjoy today, with the opportunities that God has given you today, with all the resources He has given you today, He has given you today for such a time as this. There is a reason, a purpose bigger than your comfort, your peace. Not that He doesn't care about your comfort and your peace. It's just that God's purpose and God's ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. As you go about your activities today, I want you to ask yourself, what is the bigger picture? What is God's greater plan? In your family, what is God's greater plan? With God having put you in the company where you're working, what is His greater plan? In God putting you in your business, what is His greater plan? In God establishing you in whatever way He has established you, what is His plan? Yesterday we were praying for favor. In God favoring you to sit in those high places, to have influence around this world, what is His plan? The truth is that everything that God has given you, He has given it to you because He has a plan. Despite where you're coming from, the circumstances and situations surrounding you growing up, God has put you where He has put you because He has a plan. And I'm saying this knowing that I'm talking to a generation of people who have gone through so much in their growing up, and we actually consider where we are at right now a blessing from God. Being able to do things how we're doing them in this day and in this age is a blessing from God. But I just want to remind you, it is a blessing because God has a greater purpose. Just like He had a greater purpose with Esther, all the way for her leaving her uncle's place, being brought to the palace, having to go through all that preparation to meet the king, finding favor in the eyes of the king. God was not just looking at the need at the time, which was the king needed to get a queen, but God knew that His people would need saving at some point. And He started working this out so long ago. He started His plan a very long time ago. And so by the time Esther was being born, she already had what she was set out to do. and beautifully, courageously, she was able to do it. I am a strong believer that the Israelites were saved at the time because Esther chose to stand up. And as you look at it, God did prepare every one of those stages of her life for her to experience what she experienced, that he may show himself strong. Wherever you are today, whatever your story is, I want you to remember that God has a beautiful plan. And what's most important is that that plan is bigger than you, bigger than what you could actually think or imagine. It is not even in your wildest thoughts. So all I'd advise you to do today is allow God to be God over your life. Allow him to be Lord over your soul. Allow him to take control. And as he takes you through these stages of life, seek one thing: to honor him and to glorify him. Be blessed. See you tomorrow.